Hello, hello. It is November the 12th, 2022, 2:21 p.m. I am the Wolfman. This is Madness, and the title of it is We Are the Ones Who Said Yes. What I would like to talk to you about is madness. It's a particular type of madness. It's a madness that, from my position, where I sit, when I look at it and I think about it, and I look at the thoughts being thought as I think about it, it's clear through all of my thoughts and my logic and reasoning, it's quite clear that it's madness. But when I think about this madness and I look at this madness and I sit back in the consciousness behind the thoughts and I feel quite sane while I'm looking at these thoughts that are clearly madness. And so that is the type of madness that I'd like to talk to you about today. And I will now give you an opportunity to stop watching this video, especially if your sanity is fragile. All right, so if you're still with me, madness. I recently went on a trip. I went on a trip to Florida, and within the trip to Florida, I went on a trip from my campsite to the river, and within my trip from the campsite to the river and back, I went on another type of trip. And when I went on that other type of trip, I met what I will call the faeries, because I do not understand what they are, and the person I was with called them faeries, and if I don't know what they are, then why the hell not? Faeries. So we'll say I met the faeries. What I can tell you about the faeries, although the madness that they told me about is the point of this video. The nature of faeries is not the point, but I will briefly touch on it, and I will say only this, that what they are is greater, more dimensional, more expansive, more eternal, more complicated than any, and completely mysterious. I don't understand it, and it's more of all of that than any description that anyone has ever given me of a fairy. So if you're thinking about a leprechaun or Tinkerbell, maybe, sure, maybe that's an aspect of it, but that was not that was not what I meant. What I meant was a force, and it was a force that is about as friendly as Mother Nature is. Mother Nature, who shines her sun and rains her rain on the wildflowers, and Mother Nature, who, in the form of an alligator, waits at the edge of the water, submerged, for the grass-eating beasts to get thirsty enough, to get close enough so that it can lurch out and pull them under and munch and crunch their bones. That's about as friendly as these fairies were. As friendly as sunshine and alligators. Anyways, they showed me and told me many, many things, and the things that they showed me and told me were clearly madness. If you want to be up to speed, if you want to understand this particular madness that I'd like to explore today, you have to be up to speed with the concept of round time. Now, what is round time? Round time is sort of like the round Earth. We used to think Earth was flat. Then we realized that if you go towards the edge of it for long enough, you will eventually come back to where you started. And so in the same way, time appears to be flat and straight, and we don't seem to have any choice other than to move towards the end of it. However, what I was shown is that you won't get to the end of it. You will get back to where you are now, eventually. After eons and eons of time, you will come back to the point where you are now. There's no end of time. Time is round. So, the way that this works is that everything in existence, you, me, all the rocks, the bugs, the birds, the animals, the planets, the galaxies, all the way up to and including the universe itself, everything is playing a game called existence. When they are done existing, darkness and silence falls, and a question is asked. Before I say what the question is, who could possibly ask the question? Well, existence is done, so something that doesn't exist has to ask the question. So, the fairies that don't exist, for lack of a better term, the fairies that don't exist will ask the question, do you want to play another round? And when the question is asked, do you want to play another round? The answer has to be yes. It has to be yes. Yes, because we hold on to we refuse to give up the right to say no. What do they say? The right to refuse service. Like we retain the right to say no. But the answer must always be yes because time is round. And so if the question was asked, the answer has to be yes because the answer is no at any point, then you cease to exist moving forward in round time, which catches all the way up to you, which means you cease to have existed in the past, which means if you say no, then the question is never asked. It's a bit of a paradox, but time is round, therefore the question must always be yes. They kept hitting that over and over and over again. When you leave this journey, when you get back to where you started, you will forget some things. But what you should always remember is that you are the ones that said yes. We are the ones that said yes. We are the ones that said yes. It kept coming and coming and coming. And so I was like, I don't know why this is important. I was like, I get it. And they just kept saying it. But it's good that they did, because when I got back from the trip, I was very confused. And it has taken me about a week to get to the point where I could sort it well enough to make this video. Unpack it back into three-dimensional space and linear time in a way that can be conveyed so that anybody could possibly understand it. So yes, we are the ones who said yes. That is why we exist. We exist because when the question was asked, do you want to play another round? We said yes. So everything that happens is part of that. Everything that you encounter, from the itch of a mosquito bite to, the orgasmic pleasure of sex or certain drugs, or, tantric meditation, or, ecstatic spiritual experiences, or, watching the birth of your child, or, winning the championship, or, eating bacon or drinking whiskey, or, all of these great and terrible things, the agony of getting lemon juice in a paper cut, or Skydroll in your eye. All of these things are part of the experience that you said yes, you'd like to do it again at the end of time. If you said no to any of those things, they cease to exist, which means you said yes to them, because time is round and we are the ones who said yes. Now there aren't, but there are the ones who said no, but we don't know about them. They're the ones that said no, and we're the ones that said yes. So the ones that said no, we don't know about them. Where do they go when they say no? We don't know, because we're the ones that said yes, and we're in the place where the ones that said yes are. And so that's the madness, is that we're the ones who said yes. And that's about it, really. There's a lot of benefit to this idea, practical application in your life. Sort of a point, the saying no to things is basically futile. Now, you retain the right to say no. So you could say no. You get bit by a mosquito and you can itch, and you could say no, but the itch still exists. But you don't have to pay attention to it. You can find something that you say yes to. And when you say yes, it feels yes. So it's like, say yes to yes. Yes feels good. Say yes to being healthy. Say yes to going for a run and enjoying the feeling of stretching your limbs and, dancing down the street. Say yes to good music. Say yes to pleasure. Say yes to loving relationships. Say yes to respect. Say yes to, smooth days. Say yes to sunshine. Say yes to this. Say yes to that. And then when the things come around, you may have to say no at some point. The only reason why yes exists is because we retain the right to say no. That is, an aspect of the game. We retain the right to say no. And then the other thing to realize is that if you get to a point in your enlightenment, that you realize that there is you and the universe are the only two beings that exist. And that's everyone, even though on one level we're all these 10,000 individuals or these 7 billion individuals, or quadrillion, countless individual things, rocks and plants and humans, if you include all those, and animals. Let's not lose our train of thought. Focus, focus, focus. So on one level, we are all of these individuals, but for each of those individuals, there is a certain perspective where that individual can say, there is me in relationship to the universe, and these are two beings, me and the universe. I suppose it's possible to say, I am the universe, but I've never been able to feel that personally. I've never really been able to, well, I have felt it once actually. But even then, it was like an observer. No, I haven't felt like I was the universe. Or if I do, I don't remember it. Because even in the moments where it all seemed like one thing, it was still me, the observer. There was just nothing of me that you would recognize as me to the me. So I was simply a point of observation, and then everything else existed, and I got to view it. Or at least that was the experience. So anyways, if you get to the point where you can see two beings in the universe, yourself and everything else as one being, then you have to realize that up to this moment, that being has said yes to you, or you wouldn't exist. Because obviously, you versus the entire universe, you are very small and the universe is infinite. So, if the universe said no to you, you'd be gone. You can't fight the entire universe, not as your individual self. So it's very good to know that when you look up at the stars, or wherever you look to see God or to see spirit or to see the universe, that if it was asked if you were allowed to continue to exist, it said yes. To the degree that it was asked, it said yes. You have said yes, and it has said yes. So if the universe is going to say, for me personally, if the universe is going to say yes to me existing in it, then I'm going to say that if you are the universe that I exist in, then yes to you as well. And so we wake up in the morning knowing that we're not here as victims, knowing that we've said yes to this, and that we could say no if we really wanted. You could say no. You could say no to getting up and living life another day, but you didn't. And you said yes every time. You've said yes every time. I've said yes every time. And it doesn't stop me from going through depressive episodes or feeling bad about things or suffering even. But it certainly helps. And you can build up enough yes momentum to where you're just being pulled through the sky on cosmic winds, and just, whether good things are happening or not, it feels fantastic because you're just like, oh, I'm here, I'm alive. Another way of asking the question is an either or proposition. Instead of saying, do you want to play another round? It's an either or proposition. It can be asked in small ways like life or death. More alive or less alive? More excited or more sedated? And so it's not as simple as like, okay, so I drink a beer, so I've chosen to be more sedated. I've made a step towards death. Not always. Sometimes, having a drink is an uplifting experience. Sometimes having a drink is a life-ruining experience, and it's a way to avoid the things. It's a way of saying no. Life comes at you, and you say, nope, I'm not going to live my life. I'm going to get drunk. And then eventually you drink yourself to death, and then you've said no, and I don't know about you anymore because I'm the one that said yes. And I live in the world with the ones that say yes. And once you've said no, then you've said no. And I don't know about you anymore. And that's on a smaller scale. You can wake up in the morning and you can say yes to going for a run because or lifting weights or whatever, Zumba, jiu-jitsu class, whatever fitness thing that you want to do, because you want to be healthy and you want to be happy. You want life over death. So life or death, excitement over boredom, passion growth, um, basically sedation or life. These are your choices. And to say yes is to say yes to life, and to say no is to say yes to sedation. So yeah, that was the second time that I met the fairies, and I don't really understand anything they told me the first time, but that was a long, long time ago. The second time I came away with at least a little something, and now I'm giving it to you, and it's madness. And it seemed like madness at the time, and it still seems like madness now, and there's a lot more that I could say about the trip. But what's exciting to me is to know that you are one of the ones that said yes, because you're watching this video, and I've said yes to you, and you've said yes to me, and we can go on through our lives and we can continue to say yes. And it's certainly not a matter of like, when fucking life kicks you in the balls, remember that you said yes. No, 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 no. It's like, you said yes, not because, not that you should like be guilty or be like put up with being kicked in the balls by life because you said yes. No, no, no. You should realize that something good, something to outweigh the suffering, something about life exists that outweighs the suffering enough that you said yes at the end of time when the silence and darkness fell. And the question was asked, do you want to play another round? You said yes. And then out of the silence and darkness, light came and the dance began again.